soccer. Okay. Um,
Let me prepare my machine.
mhm.
Just a second. Okay, I want to share my screen. Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going to finish the PAT course. I think that before the first break of today, we can finish, and then we start the PEA. That this shorter, um, there's less point to annex themes to see, but they are all more complex themes. So I think that we are good in time. Um, First of all, I don't know if you have any question about what do we saw yesterday. Uh, if you have questions, ask me in the chat, and I will answer your possible cues. Yesterday we didn't finish to see the dashboard um, because some people had to leave, and I prefer to finish today with all the participants in the call. Um, there's not so much to say about dashboard, but there's important things. We saw how to add new cells, to add new widgets to the dashboards. Okay, we are not going to see all the widgets available um, because there's so many. Um, but to make an idea of how to create a dashboard, I think it is enough. Um, we added the most important or four of the most important widget, I think, in the dashboard different, so you can see what we can add to this widget. Um, we can also copy a widget with the information and the configuration that the previous widget had, and we can delete a cell trace from the dashboard. Once we have our dashboards already finished, we can see from the edit mode and what we can do with the dashboards. We can create a public link. That it is the same public link with the same mechanism as we saw in Visual Consoles. The use of this is that we can share this link with another user without an user created in the server of Pandora FMS, and that user can see this dashboard without the need of login from Pandora FMS servers, without creating a server to share this dashboard with that user. This dashboard is or are the the usual thing that we have in a TV in the center of our office, with all the summary of our monitoring, and we can see what's happening in a simple view. But also we have some widgets where that we can interact. So it's very useful, not only to view, but only to set as the main screen for a user. We're going to learn how we can set a dashboard as the main screen of the user that we want. And also we can set this slice mode in the case that we can set this with just view in a screen or a TV for the common use. Uh, we only have to press here in slice mode and select the dashboard that we want to show, not only one. And with the time that we can configure here, okay, dashboard that is showing will change automatically. Each time that we can configure here. Okay, so it's very useful to configure as a view for all of the users in an office. To set a dashboard as the main screen is this one. If we access here after the login and we press here, is this screen. The screen can be changed by the dashboard that we want, and it can be changed in the setup of the user that we want to set the dashboard as the main screen. To do that, we have to go to Management, Profiles, Manage Users, and select the user. We want to set the password as the dashboard as the main screen. And here in home screen, we can set not only dashboard, but another views like a visual console, an event list. The tactical view is pretty similar to the default screen, the LR details screen. Okay, but we interest to set a dashboard. We can select a dashboard, and here select the dashboard that we want to set, and press on date. And when you access to the main to the main view, and after the login, we see daily the password. So the dashboard. Sorry. So we can configure a dashboard with all the monitoring screens that we want, and set that dashboard as the main screen of the user, and maybe that user um doesn't have to go to another menus on Pandora. With the dashboard, the user may can see all the information that they want, because here we can access to the module and the agents edition, because as we said, some um, of the widgets are interactive. Okay, so dashboard can be pretty useful when all the monitoring are deployed, because we need, before creating um, this dashboard and the visual console, all our monitoring already deployed, because we need that all the modules um, uh, created in our environment before creating visual things with that modules, obviously. Um, Yesterday we didn't have time um, to make the case study and the exercise of the visual consoles. Uh, and there's another for dashboard. I think it's very interesting to do the practice with the visual console. Um, I think that we are going to do this case study right now, and after the correction, we're going to do the case study of creating a dashboard, and then we can finish with book operation because it's a very short point, and we can finish this in just 5 minutes. Okay, and with that we finish with the PAT course, and we can start with PEA. Okay, so I let you some minutes, around 10 minutes, to make this um, exercise, and then we correct. Okay, this one ask for create visual console that refers the resource configuration of the Pandora FMS machine. You can use the Pandora FMS internal agent, or the agent that creates with the when with the endpoint installed in Pandora FMS server using the CPU and memory modules. Okay, and here ask for add an icon to that console, showing the status of the connection with the router agent that we created in previous exercises. Um, with the correction, we will try to create a visual console um, um, to show, so you can show what we can add to a visual console in very fast way. I let you 10 minutes if you want to do this exercise, and then we correct. We will correct, and we'll prepare this visual console. I'm going to unmute myself, and I let you some minutes to finish this exercise. Okay, we are going to correct the exercise. Um, I put in the chat a link um, of a YouTube video that I had to record um, talking about the creation of visual consoles and dashboard of these two last points of this course. Uh, I have to record that workshop 5 years ago, so something changes, and the view on Pandora changes. But I think the main idea is the same. Okay, maybe the menu change and the icons that can add to that visual console, it is renew, but the way to add the items to the visual console and the way to create new cells and widget for dashboards is the same. So if you want further information about that 2 points, you can check that workshop. I think in our YouTube channel we have more workshops talking about the creation of Visual Console or dashboards, um, more updated. So you can look for that because we have more videos or with information about how to configure and get things um, that we did before. We're going to do this exercise. Ask for create a visual console that reflects the resources construction of the Pandora FMS machine. Okay, so um, how to close this? To set my home screen as default. Okay, to create a new visual console, we have to go to topology maps, visual console, visual console list, and press on create a new visual console with the name that we want. The group that which can see the visual console. We select a background for our visual console. I am going to set this one to make the exercise. Background image is to load a background image for our computer, and color is to fill the background with only one color in the case that um, we don't want to add a background image. I'm going to set manually the layout size. So it fits in the full screen mode. And we can set also this token to auto adjust. But with this token enable, if the layout site is it's small, um, maybe the icons can move of the place where we place. So I prefer to configure a larger site with the correct resolution for our monitors. To add Um, to add elements to our Visual Console, we have to go here to View tab and go to the Edition mode, and we can start add um, elements to our Visual Console. The exercise um, asks for create a Visual Console that reflects the resource consumption of the Pandora FMS machine. We're going to add some modules that we have already added in Pandora internal agent or the Genie installed in our Pandora FMS server machine. Um, what modules do we have to add that could be interesting to monitor the resources of Pandora FMS? We're going to see what we are monitoring in this agent. We can add the grab for the CPU, another grabs for this file system, for example, uh, another for memory, okay, and we can add another element to monitor things in Pandora internals. This is the agents created for auto monitor Pandora server. So here we can find interesting information about monitor the resources of the machine itself, like the number of files in daytime. We talked yesterday about the importance about this directory daytime because it is the directory where the data server would look and read the the XML file that comes from the software agents installed in our environment. Okay, so we're going to add some of these models. We can use this odometer to see how it works. To add information about the CPU, for example. We have to first to look for the agent, CPU load, title CPU. Okay, this, for example, we can set here CPU and another for memory. Memory. Um, Another item to monitor the percentage of use of this file system that we can add to see more type of elements, maybe a simple value, model disused without processing. Remember that it changed the size of the box with a simple value. doesn't increase their size. To increase the size of a simple value, we have to change this macro in label settings, in format, can set in bold, and with another color to see with this background. And to know where's that, we can set another label here, but we're going to add a, an element of label to be more custom. Disk use this format and the color. Okay, more things that we can add that could be interesting. Um, Service, the status of the service in MySQL, because we are monitoring that service, and it is very important with this static image. So it can change the image um, when the model changes. Can use this dot and link to the model that we want to add. If the MySQL service of Pandora FMS, we're going to lose the capacity of monitoring everything. So we are going to lose the access to this Visual Console. But just for the sample, it's valid. We can add the label here, so you can see that we can add the label not just with the element label, but without these label settings. This color and more font size. Okay. And in Pandora internals, we can find uh, interesting things like the database maintenance, because it could be interesting. Um, Talking about this database maintenance, I remember that in the first one of the first um, points in Pandora course path, we talk about the script that maintain the database automatically, Pandora DB, if you remember. Um, we talk about that script, and we said that it is automatically launched, automatically configured. It is the script that delete the old data in our database and compress the actual data. But we didn't see how we can know that that script is launched correctly. Okay, we can check that here in this menu, settings, system settings, performance. Okay, here we can see this message. Pandora DB running inactive database. Executed 22 minutes ago. This script um, must be launched every hour. So if the time of the last execution is more than 1 hour, uh, this token will change to red, and we see here a notification. Okay, um, if it is the case, it's very strange, but if that's the case, we have to see why this script is not running. Okay, we can try to launch that script manually. The script is in user bin Pandora DB. Okay, with the can try to launch that script manually and see what's happening. But it is very strange to find a problem um, with this script. But just for your information, that it is important to know that this script has to be running every hour. So this module it's also monitoring that script is launched correctly. So we're going to add another element pointing to that module. We can add some similar to a database. For example, this the internals, the database maintenance, and we can copy this item and change the text to database. Okay, there's some icons added. We're going to continue with the exercise. Add an icon and some graphs to the console showing the status of the connection with the router. So we can check the agent router. We have a lot of modules here because um, we have for the training we added um, more modules to see the interfaces. So in this case, this module has a life. It is pointing to the DNS, and it is not. It is not. It has not a target IP configure. We're going to configure one. Manage as a live. And let's see if it works. Without the space. We have to be careful with that because it didn't erase the spaces in the IPs. I don't know why this model, and maybe because we have some queue in this in my server, so it takes sometimes um, to make network checks. In the case that because we didn't explain, in the case that we want to erase or delete models from one agent, okay, we can do it from here, models, and if we want to disabling or delete more than one models at the same time, we can mark here the models that we want to erase or disable, and select the option that we want to do here. Okay, in my case, I'm going to disable the interfacing modules. Here, disable an SQ section. And with the module disabled, the server won't process that models. And here in the view, we don't see that models. I disable them because I see here that they have a queue. In the first time of the first point of the next course in the PEA, we're going to see how we can increase the resources to this high performance server, because it is the server that launched um, the network modules, so we can increase the performance of our servers. Okay, we're going to add that icon, whatever it is to see, is here in the Visual Console, agent, router, was alive. I copy this router. And the SSID ask for some graphs. We're going to add a graph of the latency. Here, module graph, agent, router, host latency. There are last hour. We're going to call transparent. Okay. Or we're going to call it in white to see anything. See something here. Okay, and here we can add a clock icon. Clock. Where is it? Oh, here. Digital. Time not date. Color. White. Here. Okay, this is an example of Visual Console that we can create to fill the exercise. Okay, the Visual Console reflects the resource consumption of the Pandora FMS machine and adds an icon and some graphs showing the status of the connection with the router. Okay. The creation of the Visual Console can take some time. Depends of what we want to add, but once created, we usually don't want to change anything. So the creation can take time, but once created, we don't have to change anything in the Visual Console usually. And we are going to finish this exercise also about dashboards that it says for practice, create a dashboard that shows even with non-normal status, a 3 view of the devices, and the visual console created previously. I let you 5 minutes to finish this exercise, and then I correct the exercise, and then we finish with the last point of the course that it is very short. It's just talk about bulk operation. I let you some minutes to finish um, this exercise to create a dashboard, and then I will do for myself. Okay, we are going to correct this last exercise of the course. We have to create a dashboard that shows events with non-normal status, three view of the devices, and a visual console created previously. So to create a new dashboard, have to go here, dashboard, dashboard list, and new dashboard with the name that we want, the group with access to this dashboard. Um, we don't have to check any of these options if we don't want to. They're not necessary for the requirements. First, event with non-normal status. Um, we can look for a widget that can fill our needs, and we see this event cardboard or list of the latest events. I don't know which one is this, so we are going to add to see event cardboard, event type. Okay, events with non-normal status. Um, we can show all events, event type any, or not normal type to accomplish this the case. And in severity, we can select all of severity but normal. And for all the groups, okay, in my case, I don't have any. Or we can add the list of latest event with a filter of event type not normal for all groups. And the rest of the configuration can be the same. And here we can see the list of the latest events. That I prefer this because I think it has more information than this widget, but you can add the widget that you want. CPU of the devices. We need to add another cell. We can see for 3, add widget, and we can set like that, or if we can filter by any group, for example, servers. We can add the view only for that group as we want. And the Visual Console created previously. So we have to add another cell. We look for the widget Visual Console. And we have to select what Visual Console we want to add. This is the Visual Console that we created previously. Okay, and we can interact with the elements of the Visual Console. If this element has the link enabled, we can press here, and then it is the monitor detail, the monitor detail view with the filter with the module name that we had. In this case, it is shown two modules because with this filter we have two modules because the name is almost the same, but it is pointing to the first module. And if we click here, we see the model of the database and the same when the rest of the models. Okay, and that's all. We created a dashboard that shows an event with no normal status, three view of the devices, and the visual console that we created previously. So we're going to finish the course talking about bulk operations. The bulk operation allow us to make changes to agents, modules, plugins, users in bulk. They are located here in configuration bulk operations, management, configuration, bulk operation, and here we need to select the operation that we want to make. We usually will use the bulk operation for agents and overall for modules. Okay, if we select modules operations, first we have to make sure the action selected. The action for modules that we can do is edit modules, copy, and delete modules in bulk. Okay. If we want to, this is an error that usually happens, that we want to use bulk operations to delete some modules. So we just go here, press on module operations. We look for the modules that we want to delete. When we select the modules, we see that we are in edit modules. So we change to delete, we have to start again. So make sure that you select the first step is to select the action that you want to make here. Okay. And we can edit, copy, and delete modules in bulk. To edit modules in bulk, at the first deployment, it is pretty usual to configure maybe the threshold to some modules at once, because when we are using for example, the discovery with 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 a discovery application to create new modules for that application, at at least that there's Boolean modules. All the modules that the discovery created, um, none of them have their threshold already configured because we let to the customer configuring the threshold that they want. So when we are deploying new monitoring, it is pretty usual that we have to configure the threshold that we want for our monitoring. So to change the threshold for those modules, if the modules are not aided by a polysite, we have to add or to change the threshold manually. To avoid to that one by one model, we can use this bulk operation that is very useful um, to do that changes. Um, in that case, for that example, um, we're going to use module operation, and to select the modules, we have two selection mode. Select the module first, um, look for the module type that we want to change, or select agent first. Um, this is the option that I usually prefer, but depends that we are looking for. Here we can filter by the modules that are containing an agents for some group, or the modules with a specific status, okay, or whatever we need. Okay, for example, if we want to change the threshold of some modules of this agent, Pandora internals, for example, these data in files in our system, if we see Pandora internals agent, then this module and or those two modules, okay, doesn't have any threshold configure. Okay, so if we want to configure a threshold for those two modules that that don't come um, from a poly side, we have to do or manually one by one, or with bulk operation. So we can select the modules that we want to do the change, and here we can see all the options that we can change for that modules and for advanced configuration of those modules. In our case, if we want to change the threshold, okay, for the two modules, here we have the threshold for one in a critical status, okay. So if we want to set one threshold with the minimum number of that module is 20, we can set here, and 50 to critical status. We can enable the inverse interval, the percentage. If it is a string module, we have to fill here this box. We can change the description. All of the um, configuration that we have seen until now, we can change from here. Here we can change the flip-flop threshold, if you remember. And maybe we want to change a flip-flop threshold for several host alive modules. Um, we can change the configuration of modules existing in different agents. In my case, I am changing those two modules that belong to the same agent, but we can select more than one agent and more than one modules, and we change the configuration at the same time. When we are prepared, we press on update, and here we see this message: successfully updated 2 from 2, because we only selected two modules. And if I go here, I see those two modules now. They have a threshold configure. Okay, the threshold that I set in the bulk operations. If we launch a discovery task that created some agents that we don't want to be in our installation, because we launched that discovery task by an error, or the agents created doesn't feel for us, we can delete um, some agents with bulk operation also. So we only have to select the agent, delete agent in bulk, and here select the agents that we want to delete, press on delete, and delete some agents. Agent and module bulk operation are the most common action that we are going to use with this bulk operation. Maybe um, the alert operation to configure templates. We have a lot of options about alerts to configure templates in all the modules in the same agent, for example. Okay, but we have a lot of options here with bulk operation, and that is the last one point. Very easy of this course. Okay. Um, with that, we finish the Pandora administration technical. It's Pandora technical. The meaning of this of PAT, and we can start with the other course. Okay, that's all for this one. The sign of the certification, the exercises is pretty similar to this one, and maybe in the certification more complex, but not so much. And um, the theoretical questions is I think it is they are very easy also. So I don't think with this course you have problems to pass that exam. The thing just hard with the other course with Pi. You will see less points in the other course, but each point is harder and deeper than in this path course. Okay, so I have Pi prepared here. We are going to talk a little bit that we are going to see after the first break. Here in the PAE, we're going to see the main Pandora FMS architecture. We talked a little bit about this architecture in previous in PAT, in previous points. We already mentioned that the main architecture of the server is the Pandora FMS server with the database and the console. But here we will see deeper with the types of the servers that we can enable and we can operate in our installation, and what is the use for each one of the those servers. That first point is very theoretical, okay, and I think all of the rest of the points have their own exercises. The second point, at the first point, we also we're going to see um, more uses for Pandora, like the command center and the height availability or some components of system. But we have courses, entire courses oriented to talk about that point. But we mention in this one. Then we're going to talk about the ECL system and user management. Um, we talk about groups before and how groups can affect to the permission of the users. But now we're going to create um, new users with different permissions. We're going to create new groups. And we're going to see how we can change the authentication configuration for our server of Pandora FMS, because to create users, we can do it manually, locally, or we can configure um, the authentication with LDAP or Active Directory users. Okay, so that's the goal for that's we are going to see that in this point. We're going to see how to we can monitor with plugins. How we have to configure that plugins to work with Pandora. There are execution that it can create more than one plugins with just one execution, and we are going to see the differences between endpoint plugins and server plugins. Okay. Then we are going to see the how a satellite server works, how to install, because it is another component separately from Pandora server, to monitor remote networks that the main Pandora FMS server cannot reach. We talk about Polysite. We mentioned about Polysite up in PET several times. Remember that Polysites are the kind of templates that we can apply to more than one agent. So those agents, the modules and the alerts and all the configuration that we apply to the policy will be applied to that agent. Very useful to deploy new configuration. I think if we finish this point today, um, it will be okay, and say this point for tomorrow, but we will see. We say the services. We didn't talk about services until now, so we will see what services are, and we should use the ER here in this, and how to create services, of course, in this course. And then we will see the web user experience with web analysis modules. Yesterday, you asked me, some of you asked me about things that we can do with web monitoring. And I say that to do more things like record a transaction and taking the data existing in a web in a new modules, wait for the web analysis model point in PE. So this is the point. We're going to record a transaction with Selenium. We're going to see how to install an environment with Selenium nodes, how we can import the Selenium plugins and launch some transactions to be executed automatically with Pandora server. Um, and then we're going to talk about the log monitoring with OpenSearch, and how to create log monitors, and how to import to a Pandora Search server. We have a Pandora Search servers already created in our cloud. So we are not going to create a new server of Pandora or of OpenSearch because we need another machine. But you can point your Pandora VMs to our um, to our OpenSearch to do the practice. And in advanced management, it is very short point that talk about the configuration of Tentacle server. We mentioned in the first day that it is very strange to change this configuration, but just to know that it can be changed. And we talk about the API calls and the CLA to integration with with another products or to automatize whatever you want. Um, the other course have the double of slides. Okay, so this course is shorter, but I think every point it is more complex that the points that we can find uh, in PhD course. Okay, so there's 5 minutes left for the rest. Okay, I think we are going to do the rest right now before start to avoid talk about start the point just for 5 minutes and then stop. Okay, so I prefer do the rest now and then uh, start uh, start the course. Okay, so we're going to do the rest of 15 minutes. Okay, and then we come back and start the course with the first point, the Pandora FMS architecture. So see you in 15 minutes. Yeah, let's take the first rest, the first break.
Już, już, już. Wszystko mogło ci.
Okay, we're going to continue with the training. We're going to start the first point of Pandora FMS architecture. This information now we know we already know. Um, we already know that because we talked about this in the previous course. That Pandora FMS is made of mainly of three elements: console, server, and databases, or database. It's only one. I At least that we install a history database. Um, the web console programs in PHP. For that reason, we need that dependency when we install our Pandora server. Can be run in multiple servers. If we want to install just the console in multiple server pointing to the same database, we can do it. Um, I don't know if right now we have so much clients with that configuration, but it is possible. The default path to access to the console folder in the server where we install a console is bar um, www html Pandora console. Um, the database it use MySQL, and information about the environment is stored there, and it is the most important element. Um, Without the database, the Pandora server will stop, and then Pandora console, we cannot do anything in the Pandora console because it will say that it cannot connect to the database, and it can show us any information of our environment because it cannot reach to that information. Okay. Let's just, test in our environment. Okay, in this console, we're going to access the machine, and we're going to stop the MySQL service. Let's see what happens if we stop. Okay, my database service is stopped. So this console show this error, database error, failed to connect to the database server. Check the configuration file config.php or contact system administrator if you need assistance. Why it says this message? Please check the configuration file config.php. This because in that file we have to configure. It is automatically configured if we install the Pandora server with the installation script. But in that file config.php, the console has the information to connect to the database. We can find that that file here in this path. Var w html Pandora console include config php. Okay, if we see the content of that file, I don't- I didn't know if I have been installed. Vim config php. It is a very short file, but it's very important because here we have the connection to the Pandora FMS database, if we have the console installed in other machine apart from the database, we have to indicate the host here, and the DB name of Pandora. It's very strange to be another one that with other name that is not Pandora, and that's the default user and pass for any fresh install of Pandora. Keep in mind that if you want to change the password for this user for to access to the database, you have to change the password here in this also in this file. Otherwise, um, you can start the MySQL service. The server will start also without problem, but the console will show this message because it cannot connect with the database. So keep in mind that if you want to change the password for this MySQL user for Pandora, you have to change here in this file. This is the configuration file of the console. Okay, I'm going to copy the path in the chat. And the server, if we see the status of the server, systemctl status. Pandora server. See that it's running because Pandora HE is running, but here we see an error. And if we check the Pandora server log, but log Pandora server log, we will see this failure. Pandora server and the name of the server, db econnect failed, can connect to MySQL server on and the address of the server. If we see this error, it means that Pandora server service cannot connect with the database, and we have to check that connection. To check that, I usually launch the command, the MySQL command, to connect with the user Pandora, to connect to the host where we have the database installed. In that case, if we check this command, it can connect through socket. This because and then we have to check the status of the server of MySQL. If we see this error, in that case, it will say that it is stopped. I wanted to launch a status, not a start, but it will say that it is stopped because I stopped before. As soon as we recover the connection with the database, we recover the console. Okay, we see all system down because the server is stopped, but with Pandora HA, it is a binary that check every, I think it's 30 seconds, that if the server has some error or not, and it will correct automatically. So if we wait we see the server running again without having to launch manually. Um, we need to be the Pandora HA running, but with this service, Pandora HA is running automatically. So we really don't have to worry about that. Okay, this script is the script that is in charge to maintain the Pandora server service in the case they have some error. And if we configure high availability environment with more than one server running at the same time with a master and a slave server, this is the script that maintain that connection also. But it has to be running in environments with only one node because these kind of things because Pandora Server Service can stop for any if that service stop for any reason. This is the service that start the Pandora Server Service when it is needed. Otherwise, if in the case of my example, if I stop the MySQL service, we will see the service stop, and we had to start the Pandora server manually. But with Pandora HA already running, we don't have to do that. It is started automatically. Okay. Here we can see an image of the main architecture of Pandora FMS with the server that it is composed of a little another little we call server, but we can tell that it's more than server functions of the main server. The endpoints pointing to the data server and the network server pointing to the remote systems that we have to keep in mind for opening the connections. Pandora server ha, has to communicate with with the central database that we usually will have the database in the same machine as the server and the console also. And the console has to communicate too with the main database, and this can be complemented with an historical database to save data that more than by default we recommend 45 days. Talking about the days that of the data that we can store in the main database, we're going to see um, how we can change that configuration. We can change here in system settings, performance. If you remember, this is the menu where we can see if Pandora DB is running, but here we can configure um, the data that we want to store in the main database. Okay, maximum days before purge. It is the maximum days that we can store data in the main database. We can increase this value, but the performance of the main database can be affected. So we recommend that if you want to store data for 6 months or 1 or 2 years, complement the environment with a history database. Um, Here we can see also the more types of data, because um, the string data um, it takes more resources or more space in the main database that other type of data. So the string data um, has their own data for the deletion. Modules type string in the main database only store for 7 days as default. Okay, so if we try to um, creating a report using days older than 7 days with string data, we won't see the information because of this configuration. Um, just for your information, if you want to install and expand your environment with an historical database, you only have to, in another machine, um, apart for the machine where you have the central database, the main database. In other machine, you just have to install and enable a MySQL service, and here in this in the system settings, you have to enable the historical database and set here the connection to the another machine, press an update, and that's all. Okay, here you can configure the maximum historical data that do you want to store in the historical database. As default, it's 6 months, but depending on the resources of that machine, overall the hard disk, you can increase this value you want. And if it can connect, you will see here a message in green that it says that it is connected, and that's all. There's nothing to nothing more to do to configure an historical database. It is pretty simple. Okay, so this is the main architecture for any Pandora FMS system. We're going to see um, which servers do we have in um, in any Pandora FMS environment, and it is as I said before, components of the main server. It doesn't mean here we can see data server, network server, heavy server, but it doesn't mean that we need to install a package for each of one server. All of that server are included in the same Pandora server service and in the same Pandora server package. When we update our environment, we only have to update one Pandora server package, and all of these components that we call servers will be updated also. So we are going to see what does every of our servers. Remember that we can see which server we have enabled here in this view uh, um, of the managed service view. Okay, in my case, I have enabled the data server, network, discovery, high performance, and heavy server. We're going to see um, what is carried out of every server, what every server does in our case. Let's start with the most important server in the most of the cases, that it is the data server. Data server processes the information set in XML files by the software agents or endpoints. That data are stored in var spool Pandora datetime, as we talked yesterday, and it also generated alerts and events. Okay, very important, because we also have an alert server separated of this one. But if we have not enabled that server, it is the data server in charge or generate the alerts and generate the events. So in although we don't have any endpoint installing or environment, it is a very strange environment because all environments has at least one endpoint to be monitored via local commands. But in the case that we only have a network checks, data server must be up because it is in charge of generating the alerts and the events. Okay. To enable it, data server one, it is in Pandora server.com file, okay, that we can edit through here or through here, okay. Um, we see data server to enable this component, data server must be one. It is in every installation, data server is one as default. Okay, we can change with that number or with this token. Okay, that pressing in update. Remember that we need to change the information of pandoraserver.com through here to the console if we have remote configuration enabled in the .conf file. Okay, the remote config on one. I suggest to have the remote configuration enabled in the endpoints, in all the endpoints, to be able to configure new modules and new plugins through the console in our agents. But the remote configuration of the pandoraserver.com file depends of you. I don't like so much the remote configuration in to be enabled in the console because I think it is because previously that option didn't exist, and I used to um, change the configuration entering to the server and editing manually. pandoraserver.conf. Okay, but if the remote is in one, all the changes will be lost. All the changes must be done through the console. Before this token didn't exist, so I used to go here and change manually without taking care of this remote config. But that depends on you. If you want to disable the remote config, just you can just change here manually. Because if you change here, it stop connecting to the console, and it is not necessary to change also in the console. Okay, so if you want to disable this remote configuration, just change here, and always when you make change in the server manually, you have to restart the Pandora server service. Okay, system CTL restart Pandora no Pandora servers dot service. Okay, every time that you make change in that file, in the case that you made the change manually, if you have the remote config enabled and you make changes here, through the console, the process will be restarted automatically. So um, you don't have to restart the service manually. Okay, so we're going to see more servers. We have the data server, process the information sent, the important the XMLs received by the endpoints will be stored in this folder in the machine where we have the Pandora server installed. Okay, so when we receive a new file, for example, this one, I catch one, it will be stored here with this format dot data. If we see this file, it will be an XML file um, similar to the file that we saw yesterday when I enabled the debug. Okay, this one, the dataset, but with another name that when Tentacle client send an XML to the server, it is pretty similar to this one, but the name ends in .data, not in datasend. Datasend is the name the debugs for the debugs file. Okay, if we see this file, we see an XML generated by the agent. Okay, and the what endpoints do is generating this XML file with information of the modules updated with the commands launched in the machine with this header that the header has the information of the agent, okay, with this agent name, with the agent alias, with the addresses, and then the modules. Okay, if we have the inventory enabled, it will be or log modules set it. We will see with another tags instead of modules at the end of this XML file. Okay. Um, this XML will be sent it to the server and it is stored in this folder. And if the correct has the name has the correct name, that must be the name that we want, dot a number, the number doesn't matter, dot data. It has to be this name. And if the data server is running, all the um, XML files that it received here in this folder will be processed and it will update the modules for that agent and it will create a new agent. Let's make a test so we can see how it is work. Okay, let's going to copy this XML file because this is totally valid. This XML file to tmp xml dot or test xml dot number dot data. We're going to change for example, the agent name and the alias on this header Pandora or XML test. Okay. and we can add more modules, but it doesn't matter. Okay. What happened, because this is a totally valid XML file? What will happen if we copy this file to this folder? It should create new agent, because I changed the agent name to a new one, and I didn't save the changes. I think I didn't save. Um, it should create a new agent with this name and with this alias. Test. Okay. If I copy this file to this folder, if I launch the ls command to the data in, um, we don't see this file, because the data server processed the file. And when data server process a file, um, it deleted from that folder. Okay. So if we see the agency in our environment, view, servers, we see our new agent with the information or with the modules that we had in the XML. Okay. So multiple plugins work like this, overall the server plugins. We can create a plugin that do remote checks to another machine, and um, with that information at the output creates an XML file and copy to this folder, and when it is processing, it will create or update an agent if it exists. Okay, in this case, it created a new agent because the agent name doesn't exist previously in this server. But if we do the same now that the agent exists, it will update the information of this agent. Okay, so um, this is how the data server works. Okay, the XML files with the correct format will be received in this folder, and the data server processes the files received there. If we receive more XML files that the machine can process because of lack of resources or something like that, or because an storm of like XML files received because XML buffer that we saw before and losing connection with the software agent for a long time. We start accumulating files here in this folder. For that reason, we have a module in Pandora Internet that checks the number of files here in our server. If we see the number start increasing without decreasing, we have or it usually indicates a lack of performance in our machine because the data server cannot process the number of the files that we are sending here in this folder. Um, we see the data server most important. I extend in the explication of the data server because I think it's a very useful information to know how Pandora FMS works. Network server executes TCP TCP modules, predictions modules. Remember that prediction modules are the modules that allow us to do arithmetic um, um, arithmetic operation with the data of another models, and it needs to be enabled to create services that we will see later what the services are. WMI, Math, Math are type of modules created with and um, AE. We can, it's pretty similar to the prediction models that we saw of trending, but more powerful. So we can set our artificial intelligence technology to predict what what's the value of the next model. It is not seen in the course, but it's just for your knowledge that it's type of models that we have in Pandora. And web models, okay, web check models, the web models that we saw in the previous course, okay, with working with Goliath. To work with Selenium, we need another server. To enable it, network server 1 in pandora.com file. Heavy server executes plugin, remote plugins, okay, or server plugins. We will understand the difference between server plugins and endpoint plugins in this point, okay. And heavy server executes the server plugins. NCM. NCM is a characteristic that allow us to making automatic backups or configuration file or network devices, and store that backups in Pandora, see that backups in a special view of the agents, and restore that backup with scripts that allow us to do that. Sport server, it is a server that used to in a very huge environments to export the information of one node to another. But we usually, if we have a server with more than one node, we usually want to use the command center. So Sport server is not so much used. And inventory modules, remote inventory modules for local or endpoints inventory modules. We don't have to enable anything, but to be able to work with remote inventory modules, as we saw yesterday, it is the heavy server who launched that remote inventory models. Network high performance servers. It executes ICMP and SNMP models with a very high performance. ICMP checks if or modules that work with ICMP is not launching just a ping for each of each modules. ACMP of high performance work with fping because it is faster, and for SNMP we can test if an SNMP module is works or not with the command SNMP jet, but the high performance server doesn't use SNMP jet command to get information of SNMP. It use another script to launch SNMP checks in blocks. Okay, in blocks of 20 as default, but that can be changed here in the configuration file. Block size. Block size is the number of the SNMP modules that it checks in the same block. So the high performance SNMP agent, when Pandora launches SNMP checks, it checks from 20 in a blocks of 20 at the same time. Okay, so the performance is a lot of higher than one by one with SNMP jet command. Okay. To enable it network, HP server to one. Discovery server executes console tasks and Discovery Cloud application and host and devices. All the plugins that we can set from Discovery from here, and all the console tasks will be launched by Discovery server. Okay. We have more server, event server for event correlation and agent generation. Event server is a specific server to be able to create event correlation alert. In the point of the alerts, we saw how to configure alerts for modules and alerts for SNMP traps. But we also have, or we also able to create alerts based on events and correlated that events. For example, if we have a module in one agent and we don't want to configure an alert if that module is down, instead we want to configure an alert when this module in this agent is down, and another module related to the module if in another agent is also down in a time lapse or 1 hour. So we can we want to configure an alert when a module in an agent is down, and if in the same hour or in the next 5 minutes another module in another agent is also down, generate an alert. This is event correlation alert generation. Okay. You don't see alert generation in this course, but just for your knowledge that it exists, and they are a little complex to configure, but it is very, very powerful. Syslog server to analyze the server syslog file and enters the information in the OpenSearch servers. It analyzed the own Pandora server syslog file, and if we have configured a OpenSearch server, save the data of the syslog server for their own Pandora server and only their own Pandora server to the OpenSearch. Okay. It is just to save the information of their our own Pandora server to the OpenSearch. Log server is for log correlation and agent generation. It is pretty similar to the event server, but the event server works with correlation of the events of Pandora, and the log server allow us to configure alerts with the logs that we could have in our OpenSearch server if we configure one, to configure the correlation alerts with the data of our logs that we have stored in the OpenSearch server. Of course, to be able to configure that, we have to be enable the log monitoring in an OpenSearch. And the last one is the SNMP trap console. We saw in the path course, it is the SNMP console that we can enable here. Here, SNMP console. To receive data of the traps, of SNMP traps. Okay. We have also the two servers that don't appear here in the presentation. Goog server. Goog server is the a server that allow us to work with Selenium version 3. For the last version of Selenium that we learn in this course, we will use the discovery. Okay, so Google server is getting deprecated. It is just for the previous version of our Selenium system that we had before. But now we use another another connection with the Selenium nodes with discovery plugins. Okay, and that's all about the server. We have also a satellite server. This server, it is one that needs a separate installation of Pandora server. All of these servers, I said that comes from the same packet of Pandora server, but satellite server, it's apart. Okay, it's another package that has to be installed separately installed, and allow us to execute discovery tasks and remote monitoring in system that Pandora FMS cannot reach. It's like network server with a high performance server. Allow us to make net scan as we saw yesterday to create new agents and to launch remote plugins or discovery plugins. But in that case, we need to install that satellite server in a machine in another network that Pandora that we want to monitor, and Pandora main server cannot reach. It is useful if we have, imagine CPD in different countries or different sites, and we want to monitor an isolated network with remote checks, and the main Pandora FMS server um, cannot reach that network. Okay, in that case, we install a satellite server in that remote network, and it generates an XML files as same as the endpoint, and it sends the data in XML format to Pandora server. So we don't need in this topology, okay, Pandora FMS server has to communicate with the satellite via tentacle, and only needs to be communicated via tentacle, or better said, satellite server needs to communicate with Pandora server via tentacle, and the satellite server is in charge to make remote checks to the network that Pandora server cannot reach. Okay, and we can configure also the endpoints in this insulated network um, to send their files to satellite server. Okay, instead of configuring the server IP of the Pandora server, we can configure the server IP of this satellite server, and this satellite server is in charge of making the remote checks of the remote devices on this network, and receive these XML files on these endpoints of this network, and send all the information to Pandora server. Okay. Of course, we have to enable the communication between this satellite server and Pandora server through Tentacle. Okay, we have to be able to send the XML files stored in the satellite server to Pandora server, but we only need this communication. We don't need to communicate Pandora server with all of this network. Um, we usually use a machine with communication with these two networks, but we only need one machine with those communication. We have to communicate with the network where Pandora server is, and with the network that Pandora server cannot reach and we want to monitor. Okay. Um, we can use also endpoint um, in proxy mode to do to monitor an insulated networks. It is it's not the same as the satellite server. It's much less powerful, but we can configure an endpoint as receiver or XML files from another endpoints in the same network as this agent in proxy mode, and this agent will send their XML file to Pandora server. It's as their own name indicates, like a proxy. Okay, so we can configure um, an agents to send the files to this agent in proxy mode, and this agent send all these XML files to Pandora server. Okay. Um, in this case, we have to enable the endpoint installed in any machine as a proxy mode. It is very easy because the way to enable an agent as a proxy mode is like this. In the configuration file of the agent, there's this line, proxy mode. We have to uncomment this line, proxy mode 1, And here we have the mass number of connections, the timeout, the address where the proxy listen, and the port. Okay, so we have to uncomment these lines, and then this endpoint will work as a proxy. One mention the user that launch the Pandora agent process of an agent in proxy mode cannot be root. Okay, so we need or to install the agent that we want to work as a proxy mode with another user that is not root, or change the user that will launch the process of Pandora agent with this line. Okay, and set another user. Another is valid, but not root. If we configure like that and try to apply the changes, restarting the process, Pandora agent um, was the name of the service. Is not with point. Okay, we see the status. It says failed. Okay, and if we check the log of the agent, Pandora agent log. Um, the error in my case is that I cannot proxy to localhost. I had to configure the another machine. But if I change the that configuration, it will say that agent in proxy mode cannot be run as root. Okay, so the configuration is this. Okay, the server IP in the agent that is configured as in a proxy mode must be the IP address of the main Pandora FMS server. Okay, and in the agents in the remote networks, in these endpoints, we have to configure the server IP with the IP of this agent, of this agent in proxy mode, not Pandora FMS server, because it is supposed that these devices cannot reach Pandora FMS main server. So the server IP lines in these agents must be the IP address of this agent in proxy mode. And the server IP in this agent in proxy mode must be the IP of the Pandora server. So the XML file of these agents will be stored here in this agent in proxy mode. And this agent will send the information to Pandora server. Okay. But this agent in proxy mode cannot launch discovery plugins and remote checks as the satellite server. So if we are using a satellite server, we don't have to use an agent in proxy mode, okay? Because it does the same, but the satellite server it's more powerful. Okay, it is the same. It's a satellite server, and we mention the command center a little bit because we have an entire course dedicated to the command center, we will use a command center, or better, we are reading the main description. The command center is a web interface that allows visualizing, synchronizing, and managing several complete Pandora FMS servers called node or instance in a unified way. Thanks to this command center, hundreds or thousands of devices from different nodes can be monitored centrally without having to check each instant node individually. In all of this formation, we are operating with just one Pandora FMS server, one node. This is called a node, okay? But in bigger installation, just one node is not enough to maintain all the environment, because the node uses the resources of the same machine, okay, and maybe in some environments with um, thousands of modules, we need more than one node to be able to monitor all of that all of that checks, that high number of checks. So maybe in an environment can exist not only one node, but 3 or 4 nodes. Okay, and each node can be assigned to a specific network, or the monitoring is distributed between all the nodes for equal. Okay, in that type of installation with more than one nodes, it is it is not comfortable to access to separate consoles to see the data that we have in our environment. So we have the command center. The command center unify that nodes in one console. That don't mean that we lose the console for the nodes. All the 4 nodes in our example will have their own console, but we have also the command center. And in the command center, we will see the information of the agents of all the nodes. Okay, the command center will have this 3 view, but instead of seeing the information of the agents of one node, we will see the information in all the nodes connected to the command center. Okay, I'm going to show you a command center that we have in our environment. You see the login page is pretty similar. The only thing it says command center. Okay, and this is a view of a command center. Okay, the menus is pretty similar to a node, but this 3 view is showing the information of our agents of all the nodes connected to this command center. Okay, we can create a dashboard and visual console and reports with the data of the modules of all of that command center. Okay, and generate alerts for each command center and create policy that we synchronize with all the nodes. Okay, in this case, in my installation, I have a meta console and 2 nodes. Okay, connected to this command center with the unified the unified databases. When we configure a command center, we unified some tables of the databases of the nodes. For example, the alerts. If we have, or the users, or the policy, okay, or the collections. Let's talk about the users. For example, when we connect nodes in a command center, meta console and command center is the same. Okay, and If you say meta console um, for any place of Pandora FMS manual or whatever, it's a command center. But before it's called meta console, but they are the same. When we synchronize a node with a command center, they unify, for example, the table of the user and the alerts and policy. And in that moment, the user is managed by the command center. Okay, so the users that we create in the command center will be deployed to all the nodes. So all the users can access to all the nodes. Okay, and the policies created in the command center will be synchronized with all the nodes. So all the nodes can have the same configuration in some database tables. Okay, not all the tables, but some of them. The groups, the agent groups, is also synchronized. Um, because when we apply a policy, we can apply to groups. And if each node has their own group, it will be impossible to configure. So there are tables that must be synchronized between all the nodes connected to this command center. Okay, but it is just a console where we can configure some configuration to centralize with the rest of the nodes, and we have all the monitor of several nodes here in the same console. There's some things that we have to configure in the nodes. Okay, so we don't lose the access to the console of the nodes. Okay, because in the command center we don't find the information about all the characteristics of Pandora. For example, for operating with NCM, we have to do in the nodes. We can do it cannot do it in the command center. Okay, but we have an entire course dedicated to the command center. It's called PAM. So this is I just mentioned for you to know that it exists, but it won't be anything. It won't be questions in the certification of PA dedicated to command center. Okay. Maybe if there are a question that talk about command center, just to know if you know what it is, but not deeply. Okay, because we have another course dedicated to the command center. And I end this point with talking about the height availability. In some environments, we could want to configure a height availability between the nodes of Pandora FMS. So we can have replicas in the case that one node fails. We have another with the same configuration that start working as a master node. Okay. Or height availability system, it's a replication of the database, okay, controlled by the Pandora HA binary that we saw before. And there's some special configuration to enable the replication between the database, but we need two machines for each of the nodes that we have. So in our installation have 4 nodes and a meta console. We need the double of machines because we need another machine for each node with the information, with the exactly the same information, and as the master node. And if the master fails, um, the other machine will start working uh, as if nothing happened. Okay. Um, we can configure the high availability for the nodes and for the command center, but the command center is not mandatory. We can only configure the HA for only for the nodes. Okay, but it is safer also have for the meta console. But as the same as before, we are developing an entire course to talk about Pandora HA called PAF. I don't know if it's available right now, but we don't see deeply in this course because the configuration of the high availability can be difficult. This is one of the most difficult configuration that we have in Pandora, and we are developing an entire course to talk about this high availability. Okay, before changing the point, we are making a break for lunch of 1 hour, same as all days. Um, this point doesn't have any exercise, it's just theoretical. But from here to the end, I think every point has their own exercises. Okay, so I am stop the recording. Uh,